Today I'll be creating a video about the times when Brian's arrogance and foolishness led to tragic outcomes. Be sure to like and watch the entire video to support the channel. Number 1. Brian breaks his leg in Season 13, Episode 2. The story kicks off when Brian becomes infatuated with a runner at his local cafe. Every day he shows up just to catch a glimpse of her, but this time he's determined to make a move. His brilliant plan: pretend he's a runner too so he can accidentally bump into her.
And 1,000. Phew.
1,000 what?
Percent, that's what. You in the game too?
You mean running?
Let me think what's on my trophies. Yes.
You're losing her.
Brian's attempts at hitting on women are usually a bit off, but lucky for him, he tends to meet some genuinely nice ladies who still take the time to get to know him.
Hi, I'm Chloe. Nice to meet you.
Hey, you wouldn't maybe want to grab a bite to eat sometime, would you?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
After a successful chat, Brian manages to score a dinner date and proudly declares, "This is how normal people meet, unlike the time I had to compete with a bunch of guys on a dating app."
Hi, I'm Al Harrington of Al Harrington's Wacky Waving Inflatable Arm Flailing Tube Man Warehouse and Emporium. Due to a gut-busting divorce, limited people skills, and significant prodding from my therapist, I am currently seeking online companionship as a short but handsome, slightly hairy, newly single salesman.
The guy who talks at the speed of light really will do anything to sleep with as many women as possible.
And I would love to attempt to convert my heavily embellished internet profile and carefully airbrushed out-of-date photo into a night of physical intimacy with you!
That evening, Brian picks up his date for dinner, but plot twist, she asks him to go for a run before dinner. Brian, flustered and trying to get out of it, realizes there's no escape.
Oh, yeah, no, I would totally do that. I've already run like so many K today.
Oh, come on, don't be a wimp. This way you'll earn your dessert.
After all, when a woman wants to do something, you just go with it, right? So he awkwardly starts running after her, looking like a fish out of water.
Hey, is your vision also reduced to just a tiny pinhole?
Just push through it, Brian. Once you hit your runner's high, you'll catch your second wind.
Runner's high?
Yeah, my endorphins always kick in at the top of this hill.
She encourages him to push on up the hill to get that runner's high, but Brian's body parts start complaining, suggesting that he stop before he dies in an embarrassing heap.
Brian, this is your heart. What the hell do you think you're doing? Stop.
Brian, this is your penis. Don't listen to him. We're this close to Bone City.
Brian, I'm here too. I'm hanging out with your penis and your heart.
Then, miracle of miracles, once Brian reaches the top of the hill, something magical happens. He feels great, like he just chugged 1,000 Red Bulls, and they end up running all night without getting tired.
Go get him, Brian. And by the way, the sun is really a black guy.
The moon is Korean!
Wow, this is amazing.
He's practically bouncing off the walls, running like he's on a marathon through a rainbow, and then somehow ends up in bed with the girl.
Oh, Brian, that was incredible.
Oh, and of course there's that one little detail, that creepy Korean moon-faced guy who's been spying on their romantic moments. Awkward.
Yeah, you humper real good, Brian.
I'm gonna go ahead and close the shades.
I still see you.
After a few days of dating the runner, Brian starts to morph into a professional runner himself, but with a side of arrogance. One evening, he sits down for dinner, proudly putting his feet up on Peter's chair, much to Stewie's horror.
That's Dad's chair. He's gonna be mad.
Lois offers to make him dinner, but Brian turns it down, calling her food full of chemicals, which naturally sends her into a rage.
Oh, you mean fuel? No offense, Lois, but that stuff is nothing but chemicals and empty calories.
Okay, I'll mush some up and put it on the floor next to the trash if you get hungry.
I think you bought girl running shoes.
But Brian couldn't care less. He's too busy rallying the troops to cheer him on for the upcoming Quahog Marathon.
You know, in case any of you want to come cheer us on, Chloe and I are doing the Quahog Marathon in a couple weeks.
A marathon? But what if that sexy boy has another bomb?
Meg, ever the skeptic, asks if Brian is sure he can finish the race. Brian, full of himself, confidently replies, "Don't worry, Meg, I'll give it my all, just like Scotty fixing the Enterprise."
That's great, Scotty. Mr. Spock, give us readings on...
Captain, Scotty again. Yeah, you're not going to believe this. There is another lever here too. The ship can literally go 3 times as fast. I'm sorry, I feel like such a capital J jerk right now.
Scotty, that guy with the endless psychological issues who kept interrupting the captain, thus failing to fix anything? Yeah, Brian. That sounds like a great analogy.
Scotty, it's fine. Sulu, lock phasers. Captain, I just got to jump in here. We don't have enough dilithium crystals to run the phasers. I've lost all credibility, haven't I?
After weeks of running and barely eating, Brian's body undergoes a transformation that is both shocking and tragic. When Stewie sees Brian's new physique in the bathroom, he's horrified.
Is it Brian? Oh my God! Hey, could you close the gate? Couple of calves got loose. Pow!
Brian, you're all sinewy. Your whole body looks like Paul McCartney's neck.
Thanks.
That's not a compliment. You look terrible.
The show does a masterful job depicting the extreme consequences of too much running, leaving Brian looking like a walking skeleton. Now, painfully skinny and fragile, Brian has a breakup with his runner girlfriend, probably because she couldn't keep up with his ego, and asks Stewie to fetch him some band-aids to cover the sensitive spots.
What does your girlfriend think of this?
I dumped her. She couldn't keep up with me. Hey, grab me some more band-aids, will ya? I got like 8 more nipples to cover up before my run.
Stewie, worried about Brian's health, tries to intervene, pointing out that what he's doing is downright unhealthy, but Brian, blinded by his arrogance, refuses to listen.
Oh, I'm not healthy? Stewie, my heart rate is down to 4 beats a minute. Besides, I gotta keep training. The marathon's in 2 days.
Stewie, being the concerned little angel he is, tries to remind Brian of his own humanity and the time he used to call himself a dog snitch. But Brian, ever the fool, keeps pushing forward with his unhealthy obsession.
I'm worried you're losing yourself in all this. Do you remember that phase when you thought you were a pointer dog?
Was someone wearing my new high heels?
You dick.
Finally, Brian signs up for the marathon.
Hey, you made it. So, you ready to watch me kick some ass?
Brian, I think you've taken all of this too far. You know, there is such a thing as too much exercise.
Stewie, I know you're worried, all right? And no offense, but I'm not taking advice from a guy who eats bread.
Oh lord, does he actually think he can beat those tall, muscular guys? Spoiler alert, he's gonna get crushed, and not just in the race. Watching the jocks trample Brian's pride is oddly satisfying.
Help me, somebody!
Brian, why does everything you touch turn to garbage?
Maybe, just maybe, this humiliating moment will knock some sense into him, or maybe not. Either way, the karma train has arrived. Number 2, torn apart by wolves and gorillas in season 21, episode 15.
So you've all read my book? They had read my book, they just didn't like it.
The story kicks off with a massive oil spill caused by a Carter-owned company, spilling millions of liters of oil into the Gulf of Mexico and causing environmental havoc. The best part? The 2 whistleblowers are a crab and a seagull, only in Family Guy, right?
2 anonymous whistleblowers blame negligence.
They cut corners left and right. This was inevitable.
What happened to the oil-covered little crab?
He had to leave.
Did you eat the little crab?
They cut a lot of corners.
Immediately, Carter is summoned to a crisis management meeting. His assistant warns him that if he doesn't handle the situation, the company's stock will plummet. But of course, Carter being Carter, he's only interested in using his money to buy everyone's silence.
See what I'm doing here? The throw the money at it gesture. Pay someone to do something worse so everyone forgets my thing.
They then show him a video from the captain of the sunken ship, suggesting that Carter could blame either the company's second-in-command or, more conveniently, his clueless son-in-law. Naturally, Carter chooses to throw his son-in-law under the bus.
There's some kind of force field.
Lois steps in to defend Peter, so the assistant gives Carter a few other suggestions.
Some other options are a donation and a photo op at an orphanage, or building a Holocaust memorial.
Haven't those Nazis been praised enough?
He immediately heads to an orphanage, thinking a photo op with an orphan child could redeem his company's reputation. Carter quickly finds a young girl to take a picture with, but the girl, being far sharper than Carter, demands candy in exchange.
I'm not buying you candy. Go to hell.
There's plenty of other CEOs who will. And Andrew Cuomo.
Who wants to see my nipple rings? Now bring that face over here for an unwanted smooch.
Carter agrees and takes her to Rexall for some menthol candy. On the way, he jokingly asks her if all the orphans are just criminals on the run.
Just the ones in large bonnets smoking cigars.
My people groped Judy Garland something awful. Look it up.
After buying the candy, the girl happily takes his hand across the street, all innocent and adorable. Carter, moved by the moment, starts imagining taking her home and raising her as his own, saying, "We'd be like the Brooks brothers, but better."
Hey, I can make boxy suits.
And I only know lacrosse guys.
Brooks Brothers, look sharp at your sexual assault trial.
But ever the businessman, Carter makes sure to get a receipt just in case something goes wrong. He's got to cover all his bases, right?
I'm just gonna get a receipt in case we get home and you have a clubbed foot or something.
I don't.
Yeah, I'll probably just grab the receipt.
Back at the Griffin household, the family is watching the news, where they meet Gina, the reporter, whose delay in sound effects is unintentionally hilarious.
With uncomfortable audio delay, Gina. Gina? We seem to be having a problem.
That's right, Tom.
Lois is shocked to learn that her father adopted a little girl, her father who never cared about kids, ever. She reminisces about how she was raised by a nursemaid and never got any attention from her father.
I was raised by a nanny. Daddy didn't even learn my name until I was 8.
Well, what was it?
Lois.
Oh.
Lois used to beg her dad to take her to the zoo on her birthdays, but he was too busy with business.
What about the zoo?
I'll take you to the trading floor on Wall Street instead. Now that's a zoo. The guy on the other end is laughing.
We never made it to the zoo.
Now she's determined that the little girl Carter adopted won't suffer the same neglect she did. But when Lois visits her dad's house, she's in for a surprise. Carter is actually very affectionate towards the little girl. He even puts his work on hold to spend time with her, which completely shocks Lois.
There's a Mr. Important on the line.
Tell him he'll have to wait.
It's Mr. Important from the massage place.
Oh, of course, I'll take it. You gotta say that part.
The whole family gathered to watch Harry Potter awkwardly trying to call Hermione.
Remember that time I caught your snitch? Yeah, well, you may want to have your Chamber of Secrets checked because, it's possible I may have given you Hogwarts.
And Carter's bond with Tatum grows stronger. Carter even gives Tatum a credit card to spend freely, while Lois gets a special credit card she can barely use. Carter's clearly a shrewd businessman, if you catch my drift.
I'm your daughter, too.
Don't think for a moment I forgot about you, Lois. I'm giving you this Native American Express card.
Why?
I think you mean how.
That's offensive.
I laughed.
As Carter dances with Tatum, Lois, feeling a pang of jealousy, wants to join in but is hilariously rejected when Carter farts.
Mind if I cut in?
Mind if I cut one? Oh, too late. All right, I gotta go take a not wetting the hair shower.
Annoyed, Lois retreats to a quiet spot to watch TV, but her mood takes a nosedive when she overhears Carter saying he's taking Tatum to the zoo, something Lois had begged for as a child but never got.
Everyone in the van, we're taking Tatum to the zoo.
The zoo?
The zoo? What, are we returning Chris? Hey, Meg, do you hear we're going to the zoo? What, are we returning Chris?
Peter excitedly shares the good news with Meg and Chris, but really he's just trolling Chris, which makes Chris very mad.
We're going to the zoo. What, are we returning Chris?
Keep my name out your mouth.
Wow, dude, it was a zoo joke.
Keep my name out your mouth.
At the zoo, Lois is still fuming, ranting that she spent 30 years asking her dad to take her to the zoo, and it's only thanks to Tatum that it's finally happening.
What else do you want, honey? Huh? My clothes? My car? You want to screw my husband?
I wouldn't. I hear that husband of hers ain't hitting the mark, if you catch my drift.
Even though she's jealous, Lois follows Carter's lead and takes Tatum to the bathroom. While in there, Lois looks at herself in the mirror and realizes she looks like Ron Weasley. Talk about a Family Guy burn.
I look like Ron Weasley.
I'm now a real estate broker in Winnersh.
Tatum? Tatum!
Could you be quiet? I'm trying to wipe myself with the thinnest toilet paper known to humankind.
Why does that require silence?
Lois accidentally loses track of Tatum and panic sets in. She tells Peter to climb onto the giraffe's back to search for her, but he only spots other animals.
You see her?
No, but do you see those hippos doing it?
Giraffe?
animals. The family splits up to search, and here's where our main man Brian enters the scene. He happens to pass by the wolf enclosure, and thinking the wolf has read his book.
Hey, what do you do?
I'm a writer.
Wait a minute, what's your name?
Brian Griffin.
Brian Griffin? I knew I recognized you. I read your book.
You read Faster Than the Speed of Love?
I sure did, and thanks for saying the title.
He happily opens the gate to let it out, only to get mauled to death.
Well, maybe I will come in for a Macallan. He didn't read my book.
Tatum, meanwhile, falls into a gorilla pit, which sets everyone scrambling. The zoo sends a rescue team, but they fail.
Now exiting the pit. Nope, correction, that's just his face. A gorilla has ripped it off and is wearing it, and is now walking out of the park.
Say, could you direct me to your town's banana district?
With no other options, Lois bravely dives in to save Tatum, using the most bizarre tactic ever. She starts recounting one of her weird dreams, which scares the gorillas into backing off.
You know, I did see a Facebook post of him from like a month ago, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Let's just go.
No, I want to hear how this ends, then tell her my dream.
But of course, Brian, still a hopeless fool, decides to follow suit and enters the gorilla pit, asking the gorillas if they've read his book. Predictably, he gets torn apart, but on the plus side, at least the gorillas have read it.
So you've all read my book? They had read my book, they just didn't like it.
Number 3, torn to shreds by a cat in season 20, episode 5.
It went poorly.
The story begins with Stewie successfully jumping from a great height and landing without a scratch, which thrills him until it unintentionally pisses off Chris.
Shut up! Shut up!
What's the problem?
What day is it?
Wednesday?
AKA the one day a week I have independent study first period and get to sleep in? So shut up!
Enter Lois, who gifts Stewie a stuffed monkey named Chi-Chi.
I found Chi-Chi. He's like your doll, Ruben.
I know. You called Joanna Joanne the other day. It happens.
Stewie is left bewildered, wondering what the heck Lois is talking about until she says toy, at which point he lights up with excitement and snatches up the plush animal like it's the greatest gift on Earth.
Toy? Oh, toy! Oh, well, why didn't you say so? Yay, toy!
Yay, toy!
Shut up!
I'm so sorry, Chris. I forgot it was Wednesday.
That night, Stewie finds himself in a delicate situation, sandwiched between two stuffed animals and struggling to kick Chi-Chi off his bed.
I know it's not ideal that he's here, but I can't just throw him out. Lois would be crushed. She has like nothing in her life. Of course I saw his Bible. That's the first thing I saw.
The next morning, Stewie encounters Doug on a toy train, and Doug's haughty attitude immediately irritates him.
What's on your shoes?
Oh, these are called laces. I doubt you've ever heard of them, Mr. Velcro.
I know about laces. I've just never seen black ones. Jeez, why are you always such a dick?
But ever the peacekeeper, Stewie quickly apologizes, only to confess he doesn't like the new monkey.
I keep trying to get rid of the monkey, but my mom keeps finding him, and I can tell you're bored.
Doug, dealing with a similar issue, his cat, Miss Tiggy Winkles, comes up with a wild idea.
I kill Chi-Chi, you kill Miss Tiggy Winkles. Nobody could ever connect us to the crimes. Crisscross.
You've got yourself a deal.
Thus begins the sinister plan. Stewie pretends to go outside, leaving Chi-Chi alone in the room. Doug then enters, dancing to the teddy bear's picnic before efficiently dispatching Chi-Chi.
Good night, Moon. Oh, God, Stewie's so basic.
When Stewie returns, he finds the stuffed monkey dead. He then acts like a professional actor, pretending he had nothing to do with it, and calls Chris for help.
For God's sake, what now?
So I was out on my walk with Jane, Allie P, and Allie R. Both got disastrous haircuts yesterday. Obviously, that stays in this room. And I just came in and found Chi-Chi like this.
Unfortunately, he disrupts Chris's precious Wednesday routine, sleeping in for his independent study day.
Sleep.
Sleep! Oh, you're a quick study. I know!
Next, Stewie visits Doug's house to take down Miss Tiggy Winkles. However, upon entering, Stewie is immediately distracted by a blackboard.
Whoa, chalkboard wall? No way! The only limitation is my imagination. So fun!
Returning to his mission, Stewie finally finds Miss Tiggy Winkles' room. But here's the funny part. He turns the entire room upside down looking for the cat, not realizing the cat is right next to him.
Get away from me now! Oh my god! I can't read!
It's only when the owner feeds the cat dinner that Stewie realizes Asterisk Miss Tiggy Winkles. Asterisk isn't a stuffed animal after all. It's a real cat.
Here you go, Miss Tiggy Winkles.
Miss Tiggy Winkles is a real cat! You know what? I can do this.
Gathering his courage, Stewie tries to stick to the mission, but of course, being the good little kid he is, he just can't bring himself to harm the cat.
I can't do it! I can't kill a cat! Unless you were in the movie musical with Rebel Wilson. I can't do it!
The next day, Doug is furious and scolds Stewie for not following through, but Stewie defends himself by pointing out Doug never mentioned it was a real cat. Doug, ever the villain, brushes this off and informs Stewie that he did successfully kill Chi-Chi.
I don't think—
Boy, this is really gonna hurt your reputation with my kindergarten friends.
You have kindergarten friends?
Oh yeah, I let them throw pine cones at me all the time.
Now, Stewie finds himself in a bit of a pickle as Doug threatens to ruin his reputation with his preschool friends if he doesn't follow through.
Kindergartners, eh? You know what? I'll do it.
Good choice, Stewie.
Hey, maybe after all this is done, I could get kindergartners throwing pine cones at me?
Whoa, slow down, champ. They start you at driveway pebbles.
That night, Stewie seeks Brian's help.
Just the man I was hoping to see. You don't like cats, do you?
Hate them.
Sit. 3 of Lois's sweaty jogging bras.
Have I really been that good of a boy?
It depends. I got a cat problem.
Naturally, Stewie must prepare some sort of creepy gift, because what else would he give in such a situation?
You get rid of my cat, this is all yours.
Done.
Go ahead, boy.
Oh, yeah, she ran fast because Bonnie was watching.
Stewie secretly takes Brian to Miss Tiggy Winkles' room, and before entering, he asks Brian if he needs any weapons. No, says Brian with his usual arrogance.
You need a weapon or anything?
She's a cat. I'm a dog. I'm good.
After about 10 seconds of combat, Brian is swiftly shredded to pieces by the cat's claws, leaving Stewie horrified. As for me, well, I think that was a well-deserved comeuppance for someone as cocky as Brian.
It went poorly.
Number 4, Brian gets ground into meat in season 19, episode 5. In this hilarious episode, Joe invites Peter to be Susie's godfather at her baptism. Peter kicks off his antics by dressing up as an Italian mobster, even bringing a cat to the church. Because why not?
And you can't bring a cat to church.
Why not? He's Catholic. He does a muttly laugh.
The baptism ceremony is anything but ordinary, as instead of a priest, there's a rabbi conducting the ritual.
Now, before the child goes in the water, has it been at least 20 minutes since she ate?
Yes, Rabbi.
Wonderful. Then let's dunk this kid like a donut. I hereby christen this child in the name of Jesus Christ, who was killed by we don't know who. It's not important.
Joe and Bonnie nearly have heart attacks when the rabbi dips their daughter in holy water for what feels like a lifetime.
And the last thing we want to do is point fingers.
Can you please take my daughter out of the water?
Sorry. Congratulations, sweetie, you're a Christian. From now on, every Sunday you get to eat a hard cookie and pretend it's a guy.
But things take a wild turn when Peter gets into a scuffle at a restaurant and is mistaken for a real mafia boss.
Give me that, kid.
I'm your son, you dick!
Sir, please, you're making a scene.
No, I'm not. I can do whatever I want. I'm the Godfather.
The restaurant manager, fearing for his life, calls over an Italian waiter to serve Peter whatever he wants.
Get the Godfather whatever he wants.
Godfather? There's a new Godfather?
Oh, look at the wall. Why does Venice always look so terrible?
Back home, Peter started to act like a true Italian. He touched his kids' cheeks and encouraged them to go out a little more, of course, except for Meg.
I'll be touching faces a lot more than I used to. My boys. My bambinos. No touch.
He even hires a ridiculously good-looking bodyguard and convinces himself he's totally oblivious to the romantic tension between Lois and the bodyguard. But let's face it, Peter can't resist when he catches Lois getting cozy with the guy.
You look very nice today, Vincenzo.
Hey, she gave you a compliment. What do you got, cotton in your ears? Answer her.
Yeah, meathead. What's with this guy, pup?
As the head of the Italian community, Peter refuses to let store-bought pasta sauce anywhere near his house. The audacity.
Peter, what the hell? That was a Prego.
Yeah, and Prego means you're welcome. A very cocky name for an average pasta sauce.
The rest of this is just jokes, but that's kind of a good point.
When Chris annoys him, Peter sends him to Italy for 5 years to teach him a lesson, because nothing says family bonding like shipping your kid halfway across the world for a time out.
Mario Batali, El Gruppo Buco de Beppo, Ford Coppola. Mamma mia!
Peter quickly roped in his best friends to join his mafia gang. And yes, you guessed it, Joe, a cop, somehow finds himself in a criminal organization, because why not?
And Joe, you're a cop. How are you okay with any of this?
Are you asking an Irish cop why he's corrupt?
Question withdrawn.
They get involved in all kinds of illegal activities, even hijacking an entire airplane.
We discussed laying low, but not everyone agreed with that. Be careful with this. We stole it.
When Peter runs into Brian at home, he warns him that as the new mafia boss, he's gonna treat dogs badly, but Brian doesn't seem too fazed until Peter eats Brian's favorite chicken, and then things go south.
Now where's my chicken parm from last night?
Oh, I ate it.
You ate it?
Yeah, there was no name on it. It was just sitting there. Is there a problem?
No problem.
As Brian steps outside to go for a drive, Peter unexpectedly attacks him from behind. Luckily, Lois returns just in time to save Brian's life.
Peter, I'm home from the market. I got steak sandwiches on ciabatta.
Oh, that's way better than chicken parm. I'm gonna have it with my last can of cream soda.
Actually, I finished that too.
However, Brian makes the rookie mistake of drinking Peter's soda, and Peter decides it's time for some mob justice. He enlists Quagmire, who hates Brian, to take care of him permanently.
Leave the gun. Take the cream soda.
Later, when Stewie catches Brian eating his Stella Doro cookies without asking, things go from bad to worse for Brian.
Hey, what do you say you and I do a little fishing?
Meanwhile, Joe starts worrying that they might be dealing with a real mafia. And sure enough, Peter begins to receive ominous warnings that he's in over his head. Seeing an opportunity to take down the crime ring.
Oh, thank God. The mafia doesn't hate me. You's dead, fat ass. Love the mafia. Oh my God, the mafia does hate me!
Joe convinces Peter to wear a wire to help the cops bust the gang. But Peter realizes that his kids could get hurt in this mess, so he warns Chris about the looming danger.
Un momento, Vinny Testaverde con Carmine Ragusa. Ciao, Francesco de Napoli. Damn it!
Joe attaches the wire and teaches Peter some emergency phrases, including explaining the origin of Godfather.
Hey, Dad, I wrote a big show, and your grandson Jesus is in it. He's kind of the star of it, really. Can you make it?
Look at you. I'm there, pal. When is it? When's the big show?
It's Good Friday.
Oh, don't say Friday.
I was afraid of that.
The irony is thick when Joe gives Peter a crash course on the mafia, making it clear just how bad the Godfather is.
Well, there's kind of a postscript to the story. Maybe you could catch that?
Oh, you betcha, slugger.
It's on Sunday.
Oh, you're kidding. Doesn't anyone do anything on Tuesdays anymore? Listen, I'm getting pulled into this meeting right now, but good luck with your thing.
Peter fumbles through the mission, messing everything up, and they discover he's wearing a wire. Joe and the cops rush in to rescue Peter, but in the process, they end up getting caught themselves. Just as they're about to meet their demise, they're saved by none other than a bottle of Prego pasta sauce, which Peter had previously mocked for being store-bought.
Oh my God! Thank you!
Prego.
Everything settles back into a twisted sense of normalcy, but Brian is far from safe. He endures a series of Godfather-inspired deaths at the hands of various family members, all for admitting that he drank Lois's wine. Lois takes him for a walk in the woods and reveals that, despite claiming to not watch mafia films, she's seen Fargo right before throwing him into a wood chipper. Classic Lois.
I thought you were gonna do some kind of Godfather murder on me.
Oh, Brian, I don't watch mafia movies, but I did see Fargo.
Huh?
Number 5. Brian the dog manages to break all 4 of his legs in season 19, episode 10.
Not a cat.
After surviving a nasty flu, he decides to take a 23andMe genetic test to see what other potential diseases he might have inherited.
It says I'm predisposed to like caffeine. So true, so true. I can't even function without my calf. I get all grrr.
How many more of these are there?
Phew, don't have the Alzheimer's gene, that's good.
Everything seems fine until Stewie discovers that Brian has 1% cat DNA.
Oh my god, Brian! You're 1% cat! And part black.
What?
Whoa, I was just kidding about the black thing. That was a test and you...
The next morning, Brian starts acting like a cat, which leaves Stewie completely flabbergasted.
What was that? Was that a cat stretch?
Oh my god, is that what that looks like?
Brian becomes obsessed with his DNA results, especially the part that says instincts beat training any day.
What are you purring? Do you really think you're a cat?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Okay, I just feel different.
Stewie, rolling his eyes, tells Brian he doesn't care about his cat-like genes and insists he's not a cat, so stop pretending like one.
You're not a cat. You're what's called a pretentious absorber.
What's that?
You remember how Madonna lived in London for like a month and then started talking with a British accent? It's that.
But Brian, ever the stubborn dog, completely ignores Stewie and keeps up the cat act.
If I weren't a cat, would I be obsessed with this scratch post?
That's not a scratch post, that's Meg's leg.
Don't stop!
Things get more ridiculous when Lois sees Brian sitting on the floor, refusing to jump up on the couch despite her repeated calls.
Right here. Jump up. Jump up. Come on, there's a spot right here. Come on up, be a friend. Just jump up.
Finally, Lois, frustrated, grabs him by the back and tries to lift him up.
I know you want to come up here. Jump the hell up here, you dope. I demand that you jump up here and be a companion. Be a companion! Get up here!
Mommy?
Although she had warned him not to bite her hand, Brian, now fully in cat mode, can't help but react like a feline because, well, cat's gonna bite.
Ow! That's it! I'm gonna go online and buy you a $70 toy you'll hate.
Later that evening, Peter returns home, popping a bottle of champagne to celebrate his victory over his heavyweight chicken rival. But the hilarious part is that every time Peter opens the champagne, Brian the cat jumps in fear, as if he's been startled by a loud noise. Yep, just like a real cat.
Champagne?
Maybe open that face.
Wow!
My eye!
Another bottle?
You're the only one.
Wow! My eye!
And the chaos doesn't stop there. Peter's next victim is Stewie, and when Stewie confronts Brian, the terrified cat runs out of the dining room in a panic, making his cat-like behavior even more undeniable.
Another bottle?
Oh, that's me.
Ow!
You dick!
Ow!
The next morning, Brian, aka Cat Brian, hops onto the car's hood, does a little spin, and sits down, curling up like he's the king of the world.
Garfield tips the scales, as read by Morgan Freeman. How did you like your lunch, Garfield? Burp, burp. I give it 2 burps.
Quagmire, ever the curious one, pops up and asks Brian what he's doing. Brian, with all the confidence in the world, announces, "I just discovered I'm a cat and I want to live in peace with you." Quagmire, amused, gives Brian a challenge. Prove you're a cat by jumping off the roof.
You're not a cat, Brian.
I think my genetic makeup would disagree.
Okay, Brian, if you're really a cat, prove it by jumping off your roof. If you land on your feet, safe and sound, I'll agree that you're a cat.
Brian, acting all cocky, says, "Is that all?" and climbs to the roof to make the leap. Spoiler alert, he'll regret it.
not a cat.
After the most ridiculous jump ever, Brian ends up wrapped in bandages like a mummy, looking like a sad, broken cat and feeling a little embarrassed by his own stupidity. Stewie, being the great friend he is, realizes Brian's going to need some time to recover, so he brings him a new audiobook to distract him from his delusions of feline grandeur.
Marmaduke, as read by Benicio del Toro.
Marmaduke, get out of that bathtub. You look like a idiot.
Please take this off my head.
And because Stewie is a good friend, he even prints out a new test result for Brian, so he can finally let go of his I'm a cat fantasy.
15% terrible writer, 18% alcoholic, 10% Snoopy, and 2% great guy.
Thanks, Stewie. I'm ready for another Vicodin and peanut butter now.